Hello everybody, it's your boy Kerry back again with another video. It won't always be bad news when trading. I'm gonna have bad days, good days, bad news, good news, but yeah, this video is definitely about good news. So this week was a spectacular week, right? I think I took about 2 to 3 trades this week trading gold. Yeah, it was spectacular trades. I think one loss on not all the accounts, by the way. Some accounts were 2 trades, some accounts were 3 trades. And starting the week, the first trade I took was on Tuesday during New York, right? It was a loss. Lost about 1%. Yeah, lost about 1%. Second trade I think was on Wednesday evening. It was a sell setup. I was targeting about 3% on the account, so I could secure potential 2% profit, but saw a confirmation that the sale wasn't going to continue. Closed the sale at a 1.5% profit, right, on the account. And because I was already seeing a buy opportunity, so I couldn't keep like hoping. That's one thing that I said I usually hold those as trader back. You take a setup, the market will show you signs of invalidation, but because you are too glued to the profit or the outcome of the trade, you don't get to read what the data the market presents to you, right? You end up hoping that it's going to play out, which eventually it's not going to play out. This is one thing that I've learned the hard way. Nobody taught me this. I had to learn this by myself. Years of experience. Like I said, August is going to make me 4 years. Most of these 4 years I've been alone, doing everything alone, even up to now. None of my friends like trade or anything, so basically I'm just alone in this journey. It's not easy, but yeah, I'm pushing it. So saw the buy setup on Tuesday, which I'm going to break down both, right? Saw the buy setup. No, it was on Thursday midnight. Took the buy setup. That was about 2:30. 2:30 here. Took the buy setup. Called the 1:3 on some of my accounts. Called the 1:4 on some of the accounts. Called the 1:5 on some of the accounts, like the evaluations. And most of the challenge accounts, I was targeting 1:4. Then I was like done with, right? Or 1:3.5 on some of the funded, because I was down 1% on some of the funded accounts, and I was down over 1.6% on some of the funded accounts. But yeah, drawdown doesn't really like scare me anymore, as long as I know that I'm sticking with my plan, doing everything. I know that at the end of the month, or I'm still gonna end up being like profitable for that month, because we can have a bad week. This week can be a bad week, next week can be a bad week, but don't go around switching your strategy or anything. The next week follow the same game plan and everything. At the end, you just need maybe one good setup, high RO setup is gonna get you out of that damn drawdown. And yeah, with this, I think like this is like my record breaking. This was the highest profit I've ever made in my entire trading career. There is a 4 figure. I'm not going to mention all the numbers right here, but another one of my accounts I did make well over $1,300, right? I was down 1% on the account. Took the account from that 1%, went up. My Alpha Capital account, I couldn't hold the trade during news because all the TP ended up hitting during how it's called this Friday news, NFP, right? Most of the trade ended up playing out during NFP. But with funding pips, since I've been holding the trade for over 14 hours, I need to hold the trade for over 5 hours. So if I close during 5-minute window of the news, it's gonna count. So yeah, I held during NFP, it definitely smashed. Held it on my challenge account, it did smash, but on the funded account I couldn't hold it, because if I held it, they hit TP within 2 minutes or stop loss within 2 minutes of prior to the news and after the news. I'm gonna like get a soft breach, and I want to be out with them. Alpha Capital Group, right? So let's get right into the trade breakdown. That secured me well over 4 figures in a single profit. Okay, everybody, so coming over here, the trade was somewhere around here, right? But I want to show you guys a mistake I did as well. As we all know, I don't trade New York, right? If price hasn't really like taken out the highs of like London, both the highs and of London and Asia, right? Or both the lows of London and Asia together, right? For me to get like a clear entry. But then coming over to this setup, we had this inefficiency right here on the hourly. We had this inefficiency right here on the hourly. And you can see that price went down. Just didn't take out this low, but my aim for this setup was if price were to take out this low, to come and react off the 50% of this inefficiency right here, the sales will be invalidated. But I've loved for price to like take out this high before giving this drop, which it didn't, because all the times price won't really like give you the perfect entries at time. The mistake I did here was I shouldn't have taken this trade, or if I was so eager to take this trade, because trust me, I really wanted to like trade, because the whole of last week was like slow, and I ended last week, I think I was in the drawdown last week. Yeah, ended last week in the drawdown. So I was like really wanted to get out of that drawdown. I took these sales right here, right? Took these sales right here. Stops were at this high, and take profit was somewhere here. I was targeting 4R on this setup, because if you can see, price came, tapped in, right, taking out these London lows. If I were trading like based off the 5-minute, I would have trailed my stop or something, but seeing this reaction here on the 5-minute got me like a bit. So if we fast forward price, we can see that price just came, tapped in back, slapped through, and this was a loss I took on Tuesday, right? If price had come to this area 50%, tapped in and gave a displacement up to the upside, or because you can see, we see a little bit of inefficiency right here, but for me that wasn't like the best kind of entry, right? So I just let price play out. But then taking out now the Asia and London highs right here, it gave a reaction of this area of supply inefficiency right here. Then I had this area mapped out for buys, set my limits for buys, and this setup failed to trigger, right? My stops, I think my stops is somewhere, yeah, I think my stops is somewhere around here. Failed to trigger. Yeah, with this setup I was targeting, I would have been targeting somewhere around this lows. This was the perfect area for me to target, but then I would have most likely just put it at 3R. The setup failed miserably, right? Coming over to Asia, right? I was looking now, I saw price drop without me. Yes, I was pissed, but you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. So looking at price right here, right? Okay, so looking at price right here, I knew that I had this area, this 1 hour FVG. All I needed to see was the reaction. Note this candle right here was the last sell to buy candle, so this was a perfect demand zone, right? I just needed that 15, and this strategy, as you see, this waiting for those hours like have helped me avoid a lot of losses, because if I saw this reaction here, took the trade maybe somewhere here aggressively, right, even though it was a good setup, but because I didn't get that confirmation, I would have ended up like hitting massive SL on this trade. But then you can see that price came, retraced deeper during the London Open and shut up without me. But I saw the trade perfectly, but I didn't get the confirmation. And this is gonna happen at times. You don't need to feel frustrated or anything. But then the whole day price was like legit going up. So we'll kind of expect a retracement, right? This was an aggressive trade. I didn't really like it that way. That's why I never took it on all of my accounts. But then if you take our FIP level from the highs to the low, you can see this was the 50% range. So if I was taking any sales here aggressively, coming here, I need to like make up my mind. Since this wasn't my best type of setup, I shouldn't have been risking 1%, but I took it, I think, of 2 of my accounts, right? I took it on 2 of my accounts. The entry was here, stops were here. So I was targeting somewhere around here for 3, then maybe more. But then this was the entry. You're targeting like 3 hours. Since I was in a 1 hour drawdown on the account, would have gotten me out of drawdown and secured me potentially $1,000 payout, which if you fast forward price, you'll see I held the setup. It was a sell setup, so I was going to get paid for swap fees. I wasn't going to get charged anything for holding the sell setup. So if you fast forward price, you'll see what price did, right? Price came in, tapped in. Like I said, I don't close the trade because some of you will be like, why did I not close when price got here and everything? I don't close the trade based off P&L. I don't close the trade that way. I follow the plan, right? Unless I see signs that it's gonna fail, I won't. Because most people right here that would have taken this because they were on the funded stage and they were so glued to the profit, they wouldn't want to like accept reality and start hoping that price is gonna go their way. But when you take a setup, it needs to be a planned setup. You don't need to hope. As you start to hope, that's where you're messing things up. Alright, so make sure you stop hoping if you're doing that. And we can see price gave the reaction. Firstly, if we look at price typically retrace into the equilibrium, right, the 50% of this range. Then if you look, there's a beautiful 15-minute FVG here. Price came, gave it that reaction, right? Not only that, but this reaction is also off a New York zone. Like I said, most of my best trades during Asia are the ones I usually like, since I'm a continuation trader, right, are the ones I usually like react off the New York zone. Those are one of the best trades I take during Asia. So the first thing I wanted to see was price reacting off this area right here, because by then I did trade my stop loss to this level, right? But as soon as price react off the 50%, this was also a beautiful trade, mind you, but I needed confirmation. This was the confirmation I needed that this setup, this sell setup, was invalid. As soon as price broke past this high, I then closed somewhere around here, right, bringing me out of the drawdown and up about 0.5% on the account. Then I waited. Like I said, I always like to trade after the 2 a.m. open, right? The 2 a.m. open went up, smashed. This setup would have been a very beautiful setup if I had followed my initial stop loss, but I just wanted to give the trade a breathing space since I was copy trading this setup across all of my accounts I had. So I was like to give it more breathing space. If it was just like maybe 3 accounts, I might take that. But then you can see the first reaction, the break, now the continuation, right? Not only that, this area, taking from this swing to this area, you can see the FVG aligns with my 50% range. That's also more confluence for me to take the setup. If you come over to the 5-minute right here, right, this was my entry here. This right here would be my stop loss at this body, but I would still like put it here and everything. But then I never really like wanted much from this trade. I just wanted to secure profits before the week would have ended. You can see I would have made over 6R from this setup alone. but then I decided to give it some more breathing space, right? My stops were here. I don't know why it's showing this. Okay, maybe it's because the CFD, because this setup was over a 4.5 hour. I should have been doing this on the futures CME data. I don't like the normal broker data data feed. I usually trade the futures, right? You can see them right here: Nasdaq, Dow Jones, ES, and gold. The futures. These are more accurate charts for me. So we came in, gave the tapping. You can see price went up. As price went up, gave a deep retracement, and I was like, maybe this setup won't play out or something. But because I'm seeing it going against me, I'm not gonna hurry and close my setup. No, we stick to the plan. It was a beautiful setup, which you have to keep in mind. Your setup won't always play out. But yeah, I think I went to bed somewhere around here. As soon as price came up here, and that's some of the times around the 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. London time, we might get that deep retracement before they move up, right? So I then trailed my stop loss to the original stop loss right here, which was this, and I let the trade run. Then if we go to the 15-minute, to be honest, I was legit pissed because I was really legit thinking that this area might hold. If you come over now and fast forward price, you can see price gave that retracement down, as we're saying, then came up and broke with a body. If you look at this highs, you can notice that price broke up here with a body, candle body, right, on the 15-minute time frame as well. So this was not a perfect sign for me to go break even, risk free. The price consolidated here for hours, and I was legit trying to sleep and I couldn't sleep. I don't know why. This is why some of the times I usually hate trading Asia if I've not gotten enough sleep, maybe during the PM session, New York and London, because when I hold some of the trades, to just sleep is like, especially this trade, because for this trade it was holding a lot of my accounts, and if this trade never played out, I wouldn't have secured any profit or broke my record. That was one thing that was on my mind, ringing on my mind. It happens at the end of the day. We're human, but I never rushed to close the trade or anything. But going deep to 12 o'clock, there was one thing I noticed. As price kept consolidating, I was like, no, let me check out the rules. I went to the Discord, check on funding pips, the CD5. If the trade was taken over 5 hours ago and it hits take profit during high impact news hours, there is no problem, right? There is no problem. The profit is going to be counted. So I held the trades on my funding pips. But then on my Alpha Capital, they don't care anything. 2 minutes prior to the news and 2 minutes after the red folder news, if price hits, either you take profit or stop loss, or you manually close the trade within that time frame. That's a 4-minute time frame prior and after a red folder news. It's a breach. That was the reason my last payout got denied, and they were fair. It's clearly stated on their frequently asked questions. I didn't just check it, so I went and read the rules again, understood, came and closed the account. The account is up 1.5%, the funded phase, right, up 1.5%. But the issue is I still need to do about 5 minimum trading days. Trading normally, I don't need to take the micro lot size to bypass. They won't accept it. So that's the only issue with the account right now. But I still believe I'm gonna pass that easy peasy. I just need to make sure I need 3 minimum trading days left. Within those 3, I'll lower my risks, but make sure I take the best setups that I can. And yeah, we can see during NFP, price, in a minute, NFP, just a minute, NFP release smashed my take profits and everything, and I was done for the week. As that happened, put on my Jojo Bizarre to wash. It took me to bed. I slept like a baby, I'm not gonna lie, because I secured a bag, and that was the highest I've done so far trading. I was legit happy, I'm not gonna lie, but I never really had that feeling of that happiness, when you do your first withdrawal and everything. No, deep down I was like dead inside, but I was just proud of how far I've come, you know, because this was like, I'm currently one of my worst moments right now, going through a lot, but it is what it is. And that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you guys on the next payout date, which is next week. I'm gonna do a video about it. I'll record some of the accounts, right? No, let's just, I'll record one of the accounts. I have about 500 accounts right now. I only do a video about one, which was the one I have the highest profit in. The rest of the accounts, I won't do the video about it, just so I won't be calculated on how much I make and everything. So see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, boys.